Have you ever brought your magic to Walt Disney World like, hey, we came to play? Did you tip your tiara to a Creole princess or get goofy officially? When we come through, it's true magic, because we came to play at Walt Disney World Resort.
Is this house a good price compared to others in the area? Are prices going up or down? If I don't make an offer right this very moment, will I miss my chance? These are just some of the questions a home buyer might ask. And these are the sorts of questions an agent who is a Realtor can help answer. Because Realtors have the expertise, data, and access to specialty training to help you navigate the process of buying a home. They provide support, guidance, and have your back every step of the way. That's what Realtors do, because that's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
What's good, y'all? This is Breeze Brewing from the Mighty Juggernauts. And make sure you subscribe and download the podcast, Library Rap, the hip-hop interviews with Tim Einenkel. Hip-hop journalism on the highest level.
Yeah, what's up? It's your boy Joel Ortiz, and I want everybody to make sure that they subscribe and download the podcast, Library Rap, the hip-hop interviews with Tim Einenkel. Yo, Tim, I hope all is well. You my guy. I know these interviews are not interviews, they're actually conversations, and I appreciate them all. Yow.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ice-T. I want you to do something for me. Make sure you download and subscribe Library Rap, the hip-hop interviews with Tim Einenkel. It is fucking official. All right? Stop playing. Download and subscribe. Library Rap, the hip-hop interviews with Tim Einenkel. It's cold.
You are tuned into the Library with Tim Einenkel.
Say you love me, it doesn't matter, it goes into my head as just chit chatter. You may think it's egotistical.
My guest this week is a hip-hop pioneer who dropped her first album in 1988. She has 8 albums under her belt. She's been featured on songs with Sinead O'Connor, Chuck D, Ice-T, KRS-One, Will Smith, Common, Moby, and many more. She's an author, a DJ, a lyricist. She's a true artist. She's MC Lyte. I want to welcome her to the Library with Tim Einenkel. Welcome, Miss Lyte.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I just want to start, prior to picking up a pen and writing rhymes, what drew you to rap music and hip-hop culture? And then what did you want it to teach and contribute to the culture and the music? But what did you want the music and the culture to teach and contribute to you?
Well, it had already contributed, I guess, the art of storytelling, because that's what really drew me to it. I think the first record I probably learned all of the words to was The Message with Melly Mel.
Broken glass everywhere, people pissing on the stage, you know they just don't care. I can't take the smell, can't take the noise, got no money to move out, I guess I got no choice. Rats in the front room, roaches in the back, junkies in the alley with the baseball.
And, Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5, and it just was, it was everything. I mean, the beat, the music was so ominous, and the lyrics were so vivid. They vividly painted this picture of the Bronx and everything that was happening there. And I think I definitely heard the song prior to knowing what the Bronx was all about. But I loved the way those lyrics hit, and immediately it put me in a space where I wanted to be able to do that. When I got older, I wanted to be able to, use my words to paint a picture. And then, of course, when I heard Salt and Pepper, it was over, and I really believed that I could actually do it. But I think my job, and the reason why I completely found myself immersed in hip-hop, was to put into words the reason why my generation shouldn't bother with drugs at all. That was my main objective getting into the business, was to speak to my generation about drugs and how they should leave them alone and, not be involved with drug dealers and not have friends that sold drugs, just stay as far away from them as possible. So I think it was more about the social awareness was the reason why I became involved and why it was so imperative that I participate within the culture.
At that time, was there already thoughts that this would be your career, or was this more of, or was it still this, in terms of the hip hop community and rap music, was it just like, well, maybe this will, catch fire and like today become the number one genre and, in the States and the world?
No, I didn't think that far. I just, probably thought, that it wouldn't be here this long. I don't know that I gave it much thought, except this is what I'm going to do until I'm 27, then I'm going to get married, then I'm going to have some kids, and I won't be emceeing, for the rest of my life. But little did I know it would be something that I'd love to do forever, if possible.
Prior to our interview, I was reading interviews that you've done, and something that caught my eye is that you talked about how your mom used to play a lot of Al Green when you were growing up. How did your mom's music kind of shape you as an artist, the artist you are today?
Well, there were three different sources that kind of shaped my my palette for music. And, with my mom, yes, Al Green was one of definitely a staple in the house. And I remember seeing his album cover amongst many, but on the top, leaning against the huge Lloyd speaker system that existed in the living room there. But she also listened to a lot of soft rock. So, the lines, what do you get when you fall in love? You only get love, you only get pain and sorrow. So at least once, until tomorrow, my friend, I'm never going to fall in love again, which are, words from I'm Not Having It, but I got those words from a Dionne Warwick song. So it was, it could have been Neil Diamond and, Billy Joel, Elton John, and James Taylor, and Carole King, and, just the Carpenters, a whole different kind of world. And then my uncle had D-Train and the OJs and Tina Marie and Rick James and, all of that stuff. And then, of course, my cousins in Spanish Harlem were all about hip-hop, where I heard the Treacherous Three and Curtis Blow and, just the Funky 4 plus one more. And so it was definitely, and then where I lived in Brooklyn was reggae, every day, all day. So it was a wide range, and I think I used some of those influences throughout my rap. I think in one song I say something about getting cooped, and that was in Survival of the Fittest, and that, of course, came from Shelly Thunder, which was a reggae song. So I've used the inspiration throughout my music and lyrical contributions.
MC Lyte, we obviously all know you as the solo artist, but during an interview I did with King of Chill, he remembers meeting you as part of this group, Sparkle and Dazzle. For the listener, who were Sparkle and Dazzle, and kind of what did you hope for the group to become?
Well, the group was called Pure Elegance, and, each of us had a name, of course. I don't know. At that time, I think we were really just having fun with what we were doing. And I remember we wound up getting a manager. And, at that time I was going to school. I was in high school, and, I'd sent my registration money for college. So it was like the thing to do at that point, to see, where we would go, I guess. But she wound up going to, I think, nursing school. Mm-hmm. And I wound up auditioning as a solo female artist for the record label. So
when you auditioned for the label, I heard you say that you were kind of you presented them essentially a book of poems, and then they decided that they wanted to create beats around your poems. Did you want your poems to become rhymes per se, or when you first wrote them? Because ultimately, what did you want your poems to become prior to this audition with the record label?
I think, what did I want my poems to become? I mean, I wanted them to be used, and I did foresee them to music, and it might have been, poems/rhymes. Excuse me, they just weren't written to music. They were written, to just paper and, my thoughts, as opposed to being incited by a beat or something of that nature. But I'll tell you one thing, I was happy I had that book. I hadn't looked in the book in forever. I started writing in that book, I think, when I was 12.
Oh, wow.
And it was a composition book with just a whole lot of stuff in it. And I remember at the audition, I just kind of rummaged through and found things that, looked interesting, and just spat them out. And they sometimes, I think at one point they had a couple of tracks already, and I would put the rhyme to it. And at other points, they would just start creating right there on drum machines, which I think is how I Cram to Understand You was born. And the reason why it's so long and doesn't have any kind of format to it. It's just, here, take all of it.
King of Chill remembers the weekend that you spit Cram to Understand, and he said he was completely blown away by what you did. Did you have your own personal thoughts about the rhyme at the time, and did you kind of think what you were doing at this time was such a quote-unquote big deal?
You know what? Looking back, it's definitely kind of missing parts to it. It's always like your memory, you don't remember, like, everything. I mean, you do remember everything, but consciously, it's like snaps. It's like photo snaps, or like a quick montage of the things that you do remember.
Right.
And I just remember it happening very quickly. And I remember going to the audition, and then the day after being told that they wanted me to be their female MC on the record label. Mm-hmm. And the time spent there, yeah, I was ready. I had done all this practicing with George Lucien, so I knew I had a point of view. I had rehearsed, so my voice was strong. So I think I was more ready than they could have ever imagined. So yeah, I guess we did it over a weekend, huh? I don't recall how long it took. I don't recall how long the process took. It just seemed very quick to me. So yeah.
They said we only looking out for your best interest. I said thanks, but no thanks in the aggravated tone. When I want to find out, I find out on my own. Just like that, just like that, just like that, I Cram to Understand. Then my cousin said she saw you with this lady named C. Well, I'm poor, my thoughts, I wonder who she...
You talked about in the past about how you saw collaborations as being very important to you in this industry, and you've done some great collaborations. But I want to kind of fast forward to today about how it seems that everyone has a feature on someone's album. Was that the kind of collaborations that you're envisioning when you say collaborations are important to you, that just anyone could be featured on someone's song? Or is it more of the process of, writing together, or, making sure that your verse matches his or her verse? What were you envisioning when you kind of made that plan?
I guess just cohesiveness and the art of combining thought and action, and I guess like-mindedness happening, and being able to, come together for a specific mission. And I think what I was probably talking about was the collaboration that happens between an artist and a producer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I might have been talking about that more so than many artists on a record, although I feel that's just as important. But at the time, I meant being able to really sit down with a producer and collaborate with one another. And I think, throughout the time I've worked with a lot of producers, and, choosing a track from a producer and going in with them and just, putting whatever I want over it is one thing. Then it's another thing to work with a producer where they create the music with you there and they have a lot of input that they'd like to impart with the creation of the rhyme, with the lyrics and the topic and the content and so on and so forth. And I think that level of collaboration is much more enticing to me than just, sending me a track and me writing over it. That, I can do that all day. Matter of fact, I wind up writing the tracks that I don't actually record to. if that makes any sense. It's like, if I hear a track that's just like, oh my God, it just like incites a whole nother level of rhyme, I may write to it and not even really use it because it doesn't, it kind of doesn't elevate my game musically. Like, been there, kind of done that in that way, but it still gives me a reason to rhyme.
Are you still able to, because you're obviously continuing to create music, but are you still able to have that producer MC collaboration process where you're able to sit down with the artist, or is it just kind of by default that everyone wants to send like the email, back and forth to each other?
Well, I just think it's probably in lieu of time. Everybody's spread out, and it's like, okay, when will we get together to make this happen?
Right.
We Kane and I are working on a project, and really it's about our schedule and being in the room at the same time and having it be completely cohesive and not like I drop a verse and just send this thing. It takes for better planning to have something that really sounds like you were in the studio at the same time. So, and that's the kind of work that I actually like to do, is where if we weren't there at the same time, you can't tell.
When you did I think one of the most powerful collaborations, you did a stick up with Chuck D, Ice-T, and Ice Cube off of Terminator X's album. Was that collaboration? Was that a collaboration process where you all were able to be in the studio at the same time? How did that come about?
I think Chuck asked me to be on it, and no, we were not in the studio at the same time. However, I did go to Chuck's studio to do it. It probably still was the same microphone, the same board, that had taken in all of the vocals and such. So I think that stands for something. It wasn't, them trying to match audio that was sent in. I actually went to the studio and recorded it there.
One thing, going to this interview, I appreciate is trying to listen to all your entire discography, and I noticed that you really adapt styles really well. And you even talk about how you have to do that in the track TRG off of Bad As I Wanna Be.
When you begin to think you can't be gone, but you can be gone in the blink of an eye. Don't ask why, cause you tried. Somebody came along that was twice as fly. I remember when I hit the scene, it was the second phase. Rope chains, 2-finger rings, those were the days. Latin quarters.
Where you kind of talk about adapting styles and also lasting in the industry. When did you personally learn this lesson about how to last in the industry? And did the business side of the industry ever deter you from pursuing the art?
Oh, goodness. Well, I definitely think it's necessary for one to do that. If not, you kind of get eaten up by these waves that kind of come through and shock the culture and send it in a completely different direction. And I think if you're smart enough, you can kind of get on that wave, or at least have a group of people that tell you should. And I think for me, it was just that. It was, after Poor Georgie, things kind of went really hardcore with, Cypress Hill and House of Pain and Naughty by Nature. And, out of that, I was able to, go down to Teddy Riley and get Roughneck. Mm-hmm. And I think that was, the big deal from that record. And then when, Biggie came and kind of cooled everything out and made it about lounges and chilling, and, I was able to get Keep On Keeping On from Jermaine with the success of, Escape and the things that were happening down in Georgia. And then the tide kind of went even, more lax, but still, with Biggie and Bad Boy lighting everything up, where I was able to get Cold Rocker Party from Puffy, which, he was on fire with all the remixes he was doing. And,
right.
So just being able to, unfortunately, some could even look at it like jumping on a bandwagon. But because I had been in hip-hop, since 87, it felt, almost natural to kind of add these pieces to the discography. And the funny thing is, you said 8 albums. I actually have 10, but the last 2, of course, were independent. So it's kind of hard for people to understand. It's still something that I do. I put music on my MC Lyte app all the time, and I have, an album called Legend that was released vinyl only about 3 years ago, which has Common and Coco and Faith and Lil Mama and Kenny Lattimore. It's like a great piece of work that is definitely worthy of checking out. And then most recently I have Spotlight, which was part of a Nissan initiative and activation at the BET Awards. And that record is just cold. So I guess it's just all about what's happening at the time. And if you're lucky enough to, have your hands on the pulse of what's happening, then you can be counted in. And I was able to do that for many years, which to me is really important. And I think there's definitely other MCs. LL has been able to do that, to move with the times and work with the producers that are setting that, that sound up for that era of time.
Have you ever brought your magic to Walt Disney World like, hey, we came to play? Did you tip your tiara to a Creole princess or get goofy officially? When we come through, it's true magic, because we came to play at Walt Disney World Resort.
There are any number of reasons you might consider selling your home. To move closer to family, live within a smaller budget, or just wanting a change of scenery. Whatever your reasons, having to figure out all the various housing market trends in your area may not be what you signed up for. That's where an agent who is a realtor comes in. Realtors have the expertise to help you find the right price and navigate the process to sell your home in a way that's right for you. That's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Hey, I'm Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Lyte.
On today's podcast, in celebration of International Guitar Month, Pete Townsend of The Who will join us.
Pete went deep with us into his relationship with the guitar and with music in general, the new Broadway version of Tommy. He clarified the status and the future of The Who, and much, much more.
Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Lyte, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, it's Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Lyte.
On today's podcast, Record Store Day founder Carrie Colleton is joining us to discuss the April 20th RSD special releases.
Plus, we'll talk live with our audience, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and find out who still listens to vinyl. And some updates from the Beatles universe.
Oh, good. Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Lyte, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you have a favorite kind of style or era that you like to rhyme over or at? And is there one that's like the most challenging? So, for example, when I listen to, like you mentioned, Legend and the song with Little Mama, you rhyme incredibly fast, and to me, who can't rhyme to save his life, that seems the most challenging in the world. But is that actually challenging for you, or is that just more kind of like a, this something you do?
Yeah, it's just something I do. It doesn't feel out of my range to me. It just feels like, oh yeah, this is another style. Let me kick this. So, from the very beginning, there have been different registers that my voice has gone in. Light as a Rock to me was, very sort of cut through. My voice was at a higher range, and this is where I stayed up there. And then I had 10% this, where I was able to come down here and kind of live. So I think I've existed displaying many different ranges of my voice. And, with the song you're talking about is Ball, I enjoy that just as much as I do the slower type syncopation. It just depends on what the music calls for.
So Legend was your first album in over 11 years, and that was dropped in 2015. Where are you now as an MC, and then what's next for MC Lyte the MC, but what's next for MC Lyte the person?
Well, I'm still creating. We've got lots of music of that feels good, and I'm, entering into the licensing game in terms of knowing that the music has legs to kind of walk and live in many different spaces. So that feels good. And I kind of create when I wanna, as opposed to, meeting deadlines or I think many years ago I would only go in the studio when it was time for an album, because I would work so hard outside of that space that by the time I was finished touring and so on and so forth, I wanted to rest until really going back into the studio. But now I kind of go in whenever I feel, whenever there's a piece of music that inspires me to go in and write. So, yeah, I think definitely looking forward to the fans should look forward to more music through my app, which is where they can stream everything. And then, for MC Lyte, I'm doing more production development for television, for film, as a company, which I'm excited about, and a lot of things coming down the pipeline to be excited about for me. And then, just making sure to balance everything properly. I have a husband now, so that's extremely
congratulations
important. And I have thank you. I have a huge part of my life now is devoted to making sure that my marriage is solid and strong and expanding and growing, and then a business that's thriving where we manage other artists and creative types. So that's important. So it's all pretty much a balancing act at this point.
I have one more question. I feel like you've probably heard every record imaginable. Has there ever been one kind of hip hop record that's not yours that kind of has completely blown you away and had you say like, well, I wish I wrote that, or at least I wish I was the fly on the wall when that was produced?
Probably the show. When the show came out, I thought hip hop was over. I was like, what else can you do? Like, this is beyond anything that, I don't know, creatively, they just went so many places with that song. And I felt like, wow, I wish I could have been there during the process of that song. And then afterwards, you have Kanye. I like to be a fly on the wall of anything that he does. It's like, okay, how'd you get there? Where'd you start, and how'd you end up over there? And, I'm fascinated by many. Swiss Beats, Timbaland. I've been in the room and a part of the Neptune production, so I kind of see how that works.
Mm-hmm.
But for some of the other things that have come to be Outkast and the Dungeon Family, it's like, what the hell? What are they doing in there? Prior to laying all of that stuff down, that to me definitely helps to shape a better hip-hop. So I love the culture. So I'd be a fly on the wall for a session with everyone just once.
She's a legend. She's a hip-hop pioneer. She's one of the greats. MC Lyte, thank you so much for joining me on the library with Tim Heinegel.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the platform and, great success with many years of doing what it is that you do. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ice-T. I want you to do something for me. Make sure you download and subscribe Library Rap, the hip-hop interview with Tim Heinegel. It is fucking official. All right? Stop playing. Download and subscribe. Library Rap, the hip-hop interview with Tim Heinegel. Cold.
This is the way it is. Don't ever forget. Hear the rhyme someone else and you know they've been all in the way, just little obstacles. Chew them up, spit them out just like popsicles. Suckers out of my way, we're not on the same wavelength. I show stability, potential, and strength. On the other hand,
A lot can happen between falling in love with a house online and owning it, between imagining living there and breathing in your new home for the first time. Having an advocate who can help you navigate the complex world of financing, inspections, negotiating, analyzing the market, and talking through any anxieties that may pop up, that can make all the difference. That's what the expertise of a Realtor can do for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors and bound by a code of ethics, because that's who we are.
Hey, it's Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Lyte.
On today's podcast, Record Store Day founder Carrie Colliton is joining us to discuss the April 20th RSD special releases.
Plus, we'll talk live with our audience, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and find out who still listens to vinyl. And some updates from the Beatles universe.
Oh, good. Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Lyte, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.